Welcome to 221B Baker Street by way of the Southgate Bridge. I am Sherlock Holmes. This is my colleague, Dr. Watson. Actually, I am your host, Zachary Hare, and while she is not Watson, she is the Watson to my Holmes, Kristen Deere. Today, we'll be talking about the Season 3 episode, wrong one, Under My Skin. We should edit that, but what the heck, I want people to know I'm just human like the rest of you.
Season 3, episode 21. We have three left.
Yeah.
It's a long season.
Maybe we'll actually use the summer to actually review the Sherlock episodes we've missed. So we start right off with Alfredo getting his 5-year chip. Yay!
Yay! And the whole thank you, Sherlock. Aww.
Yes. But
now he's only 38. He seems a little older.
He seemed young for 38.
Oh, okay.
Someday we'll agree on something. But yeah, I really liked it. This is the first show I ever. Well, really, but it's funny how you look back on a guy. He was in Django Unchained.
And there's Janko.
I was thinking that. I almost tweeted that.
It's Janko Unchained.
I was thinking that. I was like, wow. I wonder if that's just a weird thing. But I haven't looked at the spelling. But let's see. I bet the spelling's not even close though. It's
I actually forgot to look up I usually look up all the names and write them in a
okay.
And I
it's
forgot
pretty.
to do
It's Janko. No D.
Yeah, Janko.
But I love this guy. Well, obviously we find out who he is pretty soon. But it's like, I know you're not. I can smell the whiskey on breath because people. It's sad that people go to AA meetings trying to dig up dirt on people. But I love how this guy is such an idiot. He brought a flask to an. I'm not saying he can't maybe have a drink in his car, but it's because But come on, a flask.
But it goes beyond that. I mean, he didn't even do his homework well enough to know. Oh, step 5 is not a coffee.
You also expect that Sherlock Holmes to go, remember step 6, the best part of waking up is sobriety in your cup. Oh my god. Double your sobriety, double your fun. Step 7. I feel like sobriety tonight. Sobriety.
Stop. You've become obsessive now.
Oh yes, because I'm not known for that. It's sobriety, my dear Watson. Okay, I'll end we stop on that one. If any of our listeners have any funny idea for advertising for this one little joke, please email it. But this is one of my favorite parts of the show. I love Sherlock's respect for NA.
Yeah,
that's one thing. No matter what, all his portrayals of this in this show, every ups and downs he has, he's always respected. He's not one of those people that says, "Oh, no one knows." He knows people need this and it helps them, and he really hates anyone that tries to take advantage of this.
Yes, and he's proactive in protecting it.
Indeed, and how so we go right from there to a woman, a sick woman in an ambulance who.
This part was mean. So mean. I was sad. It was too mean. I was like, no, that's so mean.
Oh man, guys, and so of course, the paramedics get shot and the woman gets taken away, and they're investigating that moment the kidnapping, and they end up kidnapping murder. And Sherlock finds some now. I've never heard of. I have a friend of mine who knows guns, but I've never heard about this hand loading thing. In my opinion, it sounds stupid.
It kind of does, but I think I heard about it somewhere. I don't know. I vaguely remember something about this. I'm not surprised.
I know there's a chance it'll mangle up the guns on the second shot, but it's like saying, "Hey, I would like to be traced to every crime I've ever done."
Well, unless it's a trick.
I guess.
It's like,
it makes me think of the old cliche villains signing their work. This striations is the work of the Phantom.
Well, you could pick up someone else's,
right?
And then it gets tricky after that. But then you have to have the right gun for the bullet.
I don't know. It just seems like, is it I'm surprised. Is it just a way to save money? I don't know. I should have talked to a friend of mine who knows weaponry, but whatever.
Well, they do have a whole thing where they're trying to they're trying to make guns less prevalent by upping the taxes on the bullets themselves. Bullets are what cost a lot
I
of money.
wonder
So
if that was intentional using the. What if the writers also agree that it's not the smartest thing because, as we find out, these criminals are idiots. So
yeah.
now they I think, and this proves it because look, other people who have his hand loading it leads them right to the killer.
Yeah, and well, also that was pretty good. I kind of liked how the steps you can see. Actually, I was surprised that Bill made a comment like, "Oh, is it your turn to ask?" Because I mean, obviously, if there were 3 shots and he picked up 2 casings, then there was a third one somewhere, and he could see there was the grate there and on the video.
Right.
So, you know.
And then so they pick up the killer, and we see the killer being portrayed by. You recognize that? Unless I'm wrong, is that Anthony Michael Hall?
I don't think so. No, that's not.
I wasn't sure because the credits. He's not the Kirk. He's not listed in the IMDb. I haven't been able to. He looks a lot like him though.
He does look like him. A lot of people said that too. They thought that was Anthony Michael Hall, but Anthony Michael Hall, if you look him up, you'll see he looks a little different.
Well, I'm just not sure because they don't have that character. I mean, I could try to. I've been trying to find it because if it's not
here, let me check. There's this one site I go to that usually has most of the characters. But we can continue talking.
Yeah, of course. No, they did an interesting shot here with the guy chained up of his arm. It was just it just stood out to me. They did this like long shot of his arm handcuffed, and I mean it was a very unique choice. I know maybe it's because usually the handcuff thing is maybe in the middle.
Terry Serpico is his name.
Really? Wow, he could pass for Anthony Michael's brother. He really could.
He's not his brother or anything.
Wait, what's his? Okay, what's Serpico?
Terry Terryserpico.
Yep, there. Wow, I know the actor now that I'm looking at him in other stuff. That's freaky.
Well, he doesn't look exactly like. I knew right away it was.
Well, that's why I wasn't sure. I'm like, is he wearing makeup? I'm like. Yeah. I've seen this act before. I've never looked at him and thought that, but I'm glad you said I'm not the only one that thought this.
Yeah, there were people online on Twitter who thought it was Anthony Michael Hall.
All right. I'm glad we covered that. And then we have Holmes tracking down the private investigator and confronting him, but it turns out the guy's actually tailing Alfredo. Which, of course, concerns Sherlock.
Oh, and not only that, Alfredo's in big trouble. So it's like, oh no, not my Alfredo.
I know. Although, with this actor, I kept expecting him to look over at Sherlock and go, does switching the Geico really save you on car insurance? Is Sherlock Holmes the greatest? And he's done plenty of other stuff, but now I just when I think of him when I see him.
the fact that I don't know, that just hit me in the funny bone right there. I can totally see that. Just saving money on Geico.
All right. It's always good to get a laugh. So we see that now, of course, Turk, because Holmes once again like him in the marshes. He's always finds something near, like with dirt and near him. Every so often, there's an episode where he finds. I keep thinking of that episode. What was the one with? I forget what the case was. And he kept saying, like, I remember, like, oh, you were near something with brackish water, and I never heard that term before. It's like
I love the fact that he was on the floor next to
I
the
love how Belle
guy.
doesn't even react.
Like touching
Belle
his
doesn't even
shoes,
react.
like touching his
He
shoes and stuff, and
dives.
the guy's like, he's
He
touching my
dives under
shoe.
the table, and Belle just keeps going. I'm not gonna lie to you. You're gonna spend your whole life in prison. It's like you also want to see the guy go. Are you not gonna react to the man under it's like pay no attention to the man under the table.
It's just hilarious, that part of that scene.
And so it leads them to where the ambulance is. And I like, again, this is one thing I like about the show, is Belle's obviously a good detective, because he deduces there's no way that Turk, or as I'm going to call him, not Anthony Michael Hall, is could not have been the killer, because the body's still warm, the blood hasn't fully dried yet, and there's a bunch of evidence to suggest there's no way he could have done it. So he has co-conspirators.
Right, and this was another sad part. You just saw her, and she looks all yucky. Oh, I don't like it, especially what you learn later.
Oh yeah.
Because at first you're thinking, well, I guess if she's a drug mule, I guess she was asking for it.
Yeah,
But
and so they're
jeez.
looking over the body, and the coroner, what's his? I forget his character name. He's getting some good screen time this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah. So they examine the body, and she was killed messily and quickly, but then she was very carefully cut open in her abdominal and stomach area, and
Right.
they talk, and so.
And that's where Sherlock. Well, also, oh no, that was but yeah, and then Sherlock sees the baggie that held the drugs, so that's it right there. That made it kind of obvious, though. I don't think he would have needed the little baggie, to know what happened.
Well, like you said, it's how they can tell the difference between a drug mule and just regular organ harvesting. Right,
but the fact that it was all messy except for that one thing, and then the fact that the organs were taken out before, and then I think he could have figured it out with just that, without the baggie.
Maybe. And so they can...
or at least surmise.
And they said they can tell from the cuts in the stomach that it was probably done by someone with medical training and perhaps even surgical skills.
Right.
So they... Now one thing that was kind of odd is... first they said that's probably why Turk wasn't confessing, because the amount of drugs they could fit in there, the money would probably be going to someone he cares about. Yeah. Although, I mean, a couple... Yeah.
Except, well, yeah.
No, I was going to say that a couple of times...
Did they ever make it clear if he was involved with the other two, though?
They didn't make it clear, but I would surmise that he was.
Because those already happened, and it seems like those two would have been enough.
Well,
I don't know. He really doesn't care. He even said, "Oh, what's it, just another murder?"
Well, yeah. Well, it's I think once more of it is revealed, it makes more sense. Now they go to talk to I'm guessing. I think this is her roommate. I mean, it could the way she said.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well, they lived. Now she said there's no way, it's impossible. She actually went down to Brazil. Wait, was it? Yeah, it was Brazil for a gastric bypass.
And Bill is so cynical. Bill, I mean.
Yeah, for a second I'm like, who's Bill?
Bill is so cynical here. But he's always cynical.
Boy, can you imagine how mean it would be if his first name was Bill instead of Marcus? How cruel are you as a parent to name your kid Bill Bell?
Bill.
Yeah.
That's horrible. That's like Drew Wu.
Yeah.
On Grimm. Drew Wu. Which I love, actually.
Well, they never call him Drew on the show.
No, but it's funny that that's his name.
Yes.
Anyway. So... And of course, Joan is the one who gets it here, because she actually looks for more information.
No, I actually guessed before they said it that maybe she didn't know she was a mule when they said she went to a South American country for surgery.
Right. Well, it's kind of obvious because the roommate seems so devastated and is like, "There's no way," and then the gastric bypass. It's like So at least then we get the proof, so we don't have to like deal with
Well,
that anymore.
and I also guessed it from the
Well,
reaction
sort
of the woman in the early part of the show, because if you're a drug mule, you're not going to look that surprised someone's coming after you.
Right. But so we see the food in the fridge. So there you go.
I'm actually curious about this, because I'm overweight. I'm curious about this cayenne pepper dad. That sounds interesting. Because I do like spicy foods. But, so yes, yes, it is.
Yummy.
And we see some sriracha sauce in the fridge, which I've only recently started eating more of. But
I got this special sriracha sauce. Anyway.
wait,
I got off Kickstarter. Ghost pepper, super spicy.
Ghost pepper sriracha? Whoa, send some to me. That sounds really good. Off a Kickstarter?
Off Kickstarter.
I'm intrigued. Okay, we're pulling a Rob Southgate here, getting back on. Now, okay, so they threw the hypothesis that she didn't know she was a drug mule, because if you're gonna kill your mule anyways, you wouldn't tell them. They look into it. Turns out the doctor who performed her surgery is missing and was suspected of even stealing, which apparently there are drugs at the hospital that you can turn to medical grade heroin.
Well, and then also he's married to Connie Turk from the States, who is the sister of the guy that they already got.
What a nice family.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I don't know if it was cut out or something, but he says, I'm going to go talk to Turk and see what he says, and then we never find out if he ever did.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even
it's just, I was like, I swear to God, I during the rewatch, I'm like, did I miss that scene?
Yeah, I guess that maybe they did cut that out. It seems like although it seems like they would have cut out that statement if they were going to cut out the other part, they might as well cut out that statement too. So maybe it was just, something natural that he would say, and they didn't have to show it. I don't know.
So they said that they're going to start looking into the doctor. Oh, and they also surmise that you can deduce that because of that they still have the drugs, because even the biggest cartels the amount that was stolen could not be turned into, I guess you'd say, the street quality. I forget I'm not versed in drug lingo, but street quality heroin overnight. So they must still have, and they still need to unload it. So that's
right. And it was more than Maggie could carry.
And the cartels have established pipelines, so they wouldn't risk all that stuff on a score like that.
Yeah, I think they kind of get into the weeds after that with involving all these different cartels.
Well, it's to show how stupid the criminals are.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, and so we see Sherlock with Alfredo, and he confronts him about the information the private investigator gave him. And he said, because it turns out Alfredo was not only fired from the company he was consulting for, but they badmouthed him and said he was using. So, which, I mean, who
would do that? That's
horrible.
horrible.
A lot of companies would do stuff like that.
When someone is 5 years sober, why would they?
Especially, it's just because they don't want to admit that their alarm system has a defect.
Yeah, and then they keep. I mean, they're idiots. Why not fix it?
I love how Alfredo is just he's breaking the cars and just moving them.
Yeah. But I mean, if that's happening over and over, like, just fix it.
It's completely believable. It's sad. I was just saying, it's sad but believable.
I know it's believable, but it's dumb.
It's like there's a problem. Fix it.
Yeah.
And Sherlock confronts him. He's saying that you're going to get in trouble with your record. And then we get this. I love this scene because Alfredo kind of does a 180. I don't want to say it does a 180, but it's the best phrase I could think of to compare it to. But he goes to Sherlock and says, "Are we friends?" And Sherlock thinks this is like a moment he would have with Joan or somebody. He says what he thinks he's supposed to say. Yes, I am your friend. And then Alfredo looks right at him and goes, "No, we're not."
Nope.
I like that. I like that because it's such a cliche where Sherlock has to be like, yes, we're friends, we love each other, we have a great physical bond. Can we? No, and Alfred's like, no, I'm your sponsor. If you think you're gonna relapse, you call me anytime, day or night. But you have no say in my personal business because that's not how it works.
But you know what's funny here is that I think that his reaction and saying that we're not friends and being so logical about it is exactly what makes Sherlock want to be friends.
Exactly, because Sherlock even says later when he's talking to Joan, he said I have no like he says he's completely right, and that's what bothers me.
Yeah. That's what bothers me because now I want to be a
Right.
friend.
And then we go to the dentist's office and we see Fisher Stevens, yay! And with all the great things he's done, I can't stop picturing him as the Indian guy from Short Circuit.
I haven't seen him for a while though. He looks so different. He looks kind of like a bobblehead now.
Oh, that's
His
oh
his neck is so tiny, you know.
wow.
I'm sorry. No, I like the guy, but he looks so different. He doesn't look like himself.
I'm just gonna let her keep going because I want to see how far she goes with bashing Fisher Stevens. He's a bobblehead.
Well, you know, he's got it's the little neck. Not that his head is big. His neck is very skinny. When did that happen?
I don't know. I really don't think this is important to the case.
No. But that was the first thing I thought of when I
good
saw
for
it.
you.
Like, what happened?
Jeez. So it turns out that this dentist is connected to I wonder because they're like, hey, you know, because of doctor-patient privilege, the federal agencies can't bug the office. I wonder if any criminals at home are watching this going, hey.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking the same
Because
thing.
you always hear about scientists who invent stuff just to like because like the flip phone is based on the Star Trek communicator and there's inventions like that all over the place. I wonder if I would like to find. Obviously, you can't find out because what criminal's going to admit it. But I want to know how many times a crime was inspired by something that they saw on TV, and how many times that worked.
I'm sure a lot of times because I think about that a lot. When they give information, you know, that isn't widely known, I think to myself, oh great. You know, like normal people don't think of it in a bad way, but any criminal would, you know, take that information and use it in some horrible way.
Well, you got to think how many criminals clean up a crime scene now because of CSI.
Yeah. God, I know. It's like, oh, it's entertaining, but geez,
I mean, I'm not saying I would commit a crime, but if I did, now I know what not to leave behind.
Yeah. It's luckily a lot of criminals are still really stupid. So, at least there's that.
Yes, indeed. So they talk to the guy, and the guy says, "Listen, you don't want this batch of. We know what you do. You know what let's not insult each other." And they say to him, "Listen, you don't want this, even though with what happened." I love this scene because he's like, they're so matter of fact to them. Like, we know you're a drug dealer. We know, and so like just but be warned. These drugs have this is a bad pedigree on them. We are gonna really come. Although here's the thing though, what drug delivery doesn't have a lot of bodies attached to it? Is it just because she's American?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. And they say listen, there's bad pedigree on this drug, and if we get it, that means your competitors don't. So the guy decides to help them. He names the person that contacted him about the drug. So I just like the matter of factness.
Yeah. Although the whole time you kind of know that Dr. Ward probably did it because he's too famous.
Right.
You know?
Well, oh yeah, the old thing is if a well-known actor is playing the part, it's probably likely there's more to his character.
Yeah, there was one I think it was the first season where you get it was the worst one of all because you know the second you see him that he's the killer, especially because you don't see him at any other time throughout the episode. It was this one where they get on an elevator and the janitor is in there and he's this way like famous guy and it's like the janitor did it, and yet you don't see him anywhere else, and it's like, okay, when is he
I
gonna pop up again?
suspected Fisher Stevens might. I mean, I know it's a possibility, but I think it wasn't too obvious. About the show does love its red herrings, so I knew, but I think I did figure it out before the end because I'm like, it's probably. I think I was pretty sure. I suspected as soon as we met him, but I was pretty sure when the mobster gets shot.
Yeah. Well, the most famous guy in the group is usually the one who did it, mainly because he wants, the biggest actor wants to have the main bad guy role.
Right.
You would think,
So Alfredo gets a message from Sherlock of and this is a weird, and I looked it up and it's real. This Voynich manuscript. I've looked
Oh
up. It
yeah.
is
Oh, I
no.
forgot to look it up.
I did a quick skim of it. It is a real thing, and it's true in that they don't know what it says. I'm not sure if anyone does think it's aliens, but I wouldn't be surprised because apparently everything with aliens. Every religion is aliens. Everything that ever happened in history is all aliens.
I mainly wanted to look at it. I think I read about this in National Geographic, but I'm not sure. There was this long article I read about something at least similar, and I just couldn't remember the name of it. I couldn't remember if that was what I read about. I was going to look it up, and I forgot.
But I did a quick scan. It is one of those things where they don't know what it's saying. That people have many different opinions and hypotheses.
Yeah, just like the pyramids. Oh yeah, the aliens did everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, although I am getting really sick of that meme of that guy from the History Channel.
What?
The guy from Ancient Aliens who's holding up his hands and and he's got like hair out the hair and he looks like he's stoned out of his mind. People use it as a meme to just for something really the explanation for everything is aliens.
Oh, okay.
But so we see the gangsters killed at the as in very classic fashion at the home of his mistress, and they surmise that with how quick people found out about him giving up the smuggler and where he was, it had to have been someone who knew him.
Yeah. And there were, didn't they say there were 3 different shooters? It was
two,
an
I think.
Well, it was 2 types of bullets, but then another bullet, one of the bullets that was the same as the other was shot at a different angle.
Right. Well, yeah, he was shot with 2 different types of guns. So, he says there has been at least 2. So, and then we cut ahead, and then Alfredo gets a text from Sherlock, pretty much saying he's afraid he's going to use. So Alfredo, because he's such a good guy, gets up and helps Sherlock.
And we know something's going on.
Yeah, because
we know he's about to do something.
I wasn't sure what he was going to do, but so the good dentist shows up, missing a few digits. You know what's funny? At first, I thought he was going to be faking it, like they're going to take off the bandage and he still had his fingers.
Yeah, or he was really stupid and cut off
that
his
too.
own fingers.
I thought that's the other one I thought of. And it turns out that he's sick, being oppressed by this gangster, and he was forced by the Chinese triad to shoot him. God, I didn't believe a word. I can't believe the cops did.
Oh, that was horrible. And but I love the fact that he's such a fool.
Yep.
I mean, actually, it's hilarious the way the way they trick him into thinking that even his attorney is trying to tell him it's a lie. That guy's a cop.
Right. And so we find out that because he says he's going to give everything up. He wants immunity. And there's more bodies. It was all the Serbian gangsters' idea and whatever, and so they're gonna make a deal with him for the information. And then we get back to Alfredo when he's confronted by a couple.
Sorry, I jumped ahead.
No, it's all right. We get it by a couple of cops, and he's like, "Where were you? Like, did you hear about this? Where were you when these cars were moved to this? I forget what they call let's just say the car elevator." And the look on Alfredo's face when they tell him the times when it happened, and his face said Sherlock.
Yes, he's like, of course I have an alibi.
Yeah, that was great. That was the look on his face. I love the cops like, my son says it's trending.
I love how quick and sharp he is. I mean, I think he would be a good detective.
well, we'll see where. It's too bad he never met. I bet him and Kitty could have had an interesting interaction.
Oh man, that would have been awesome. I'd love that. Man, they should have a spin-off of those two, have them meet each other and then spin that
Kitty
off.
and Alfred, yes.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious because Sherlock we know he almost used a couple of times when he was in London. I wonder if he called Alfredo, like we did, because you would think he still needs to sponsor one. Although one thing I thought of, where is the guy Sherlock's sponsoring?
I know. I was wondering about that too.
We have not seen him since his introduction.
No, I don't know if he's. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like he like they're trying to pretend he never existed, like that never happened or something.
And they usually don't. Well, I don't know because they never. Anytime they introduce something to the show, they usually have a. They'll probably. I bet he'll pop up again next season.
Yeah. From the by the way, from the clips that they showed from when he was in London, I don't think he ever did call Alfredo.
Not that we know.
Because, yeah. Well, they kind of show him falling apart and not calling anyone because he wants Kitty to come back,
Right.
and then she does. And then also, I mean, he's kind of having a pity party. I don't think he ever called. It didn't seem like
right.
it.
That's what I'm saying. And so through some more digging, they find out that the doctor did have other patients who are also missing, and then they go to investigate. Like after the deal's made, the doctor gives them the location. They find two more bodies, which we.
But this is what gives them away.
I know. Oh god, they find the other two bodies, they investigate it, and they turned out if he had used any other tie filament, he would have been they probably wouldn't have suspected him. Like she literally says, "This is used by dentists." You almost want the captain to go, "Really?"
He truly is bad at this.
Oh man.
It's just more proof how truly.
I mean, when you think about it, that is the dumbest plan ever.
What?
Mules who don't know they're mules. It's the dumbest plan. I mean, cartels, of course, now, sadly, they intimidate and threaten people to be their mules all the time. But I don't know if secret mules ever do happen, but that's the dumbest thing ever, because you gotta get the drugs back eventually. And think of it, I don't want to help any criminals out there, but the easiest solution would be you'd say to the person, "Oh, it's time for your fall. I'm going to go in and make sure everything held right."
It doesn't make any sense at all.
No. So they look at the other bodies and they say it has to have been done with the hands of a very skilled person. Like they said, "Oh, maybe it's one of his friends. It could have been a combat guy." She's like, "No, this had been done with someone with surgical skills." And then when she says the filament, it's just they're all. It's like, I know obviously it's not like, oh, they're all idiots, but when she says it's used in oral surgery, they all go, "Oh." It's almost like that, even though it's not. It's just how I see it in my head. And so they pick him up and they confront him. And they say, "You shouldn't have." It's literally like he signed it. And he's like, "What do you mean? I went to the Chinese. They cut off my fingers." And Charlotte's like, "Yeah, you're lucky they didn't take your thumbs."
Yeah, because you're an idiot.
Because the triad's not going to be like, it's going to be like, "Who the hell are you?"
But the way they trick him and they say, "Oh, this guy is with the triad."
That is such an old trick.
I
don't know if it's
attorney's trying to convince him. She's like, "That guy's a cop," and then he is.
Because it's true. Everything they discovered was because of his testimony, so it's inadmissible. I wonder if the cops have ever really tried that trick, like referred to someone, like, "Oh, look, there he is. If you leave this room right now, like the deal is off."
Well, if they're good cops, they probably use every trick in the book like that.
Right.
That they can legally.
Yeah. Well, maybe not just legally, but
Well, like I said, if they're good cops.
Right. And I just love how it's like, you really are exceptionally bad at this.
And I love that it's Detective Yi who processes his arrest.
Yeah.
And the way he looks at him and smiles and is like,
while he has to fill out his confession with his left hand.
Yeah. And the way he smiles and he's like, knowingly, I really am horrible at this.
Now, you were asking who did what. They didn't exactly say what happened, but this is how I see it. This is the stuff like that might need fill in. He was in with the Serbian came in, and I think he obviously was more involved than he wanted to admit. He's like, oh, I listened to them through the vent, yeah,
Yeah.
and he decides while being under the Serbian, he's going to try this on his own. So he contacts because I love how he does it with a guy he went to college with. Like they're not going to look into that. The mistress is a patient of his. Oh yeah, way to keep things quiet, you dummy. And he decides to make a deal with the Brazilian doctor to do the unknown mule thing. I think around pretty much around the same time because the bodies didn't look like they were too far apart from each other.
I can't believe that he didn't care at all about, just killing people,
Yeah.
innocent people.
But then the woman, she got sick before they could get to her, so they had to act fast. And of course, their first thought was Turk's first thought was, hey, I know, I'm going to kill everybody and then make it really obvious to kidnap her.
It's just such a mess. Yeesh.
Oh, he could have knocked her or something, but it just. And I just thought of that. Am I wrong, or couldn't he have just like knocked out this thing, stolen the ambulance, put her under, opened her up, and taken the drugs without anyone knowing why? Of course, it would have been a weird, and that still would have been a weird case for Sherlock. But the cops aren't going to go as hard after someone who just. It's a weird case.
They didn't have to kill everybody.
Right.
Idiot. And then that guy, oh, I didn't mean for Dr. Ward, oh, I didn't mean for everyone, all these people to get hurt.
And
the way
Belle's
he's like, oh, I had to.
Belle's just like, why don't you put that in your confession?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's when he says that he introduces the detective.
Perfect.
Oh, that was.
And I do like how as soon as he said it and Belle said you should put that in there, he realized how stupid he sounded and didn't put it in there. He just signed it.
Right.
Because, hello, idiot.
I just love how stupid he is. Like, this is just.
Oh,
man. Now, the one thing I wasn't clear on, did the triads really. I mean, I don't think they weren't clear on what really happened in some parts of the case. Like, we know the triads cut off his fingers, but we don't. Was it really the triads who killed the Serbian? Or. I don't think they were ever. I mean, we know he was involved, but they weren't clear if he killed him and he just said, "Oh yeah, it was the triads."
No, it had to be because there was more than one shooter.
Okay, yeah, you're probably right. And so he confronts him. The guy goes up the river because he's a moron. And so that's the end of that. Now we have this ending which I freaking love.
Oh, it's the best. Love it.
Where Alfredo confronts Sherlock about what he did. He's like,
I love how Alfredo was so upset at first, and then Sherlock points out that Castle is humiliated, and aren't you happy about that? Well, yes.
And then he's like, I've done some thinking, and really, it's so perfect for this Sherlock because he's saying he's saying he's selfish and he wants to butt into his life, but I can't do that if you're my sponsor, so I'm firing you. So I can. And he's like, wait a minute, you're firing me as your sponsor, so I can be your friend. And he's like, yes. Oh, and he's like, this may curdle your blood. It's like,
it's such blood curdling.
This is it's so perfect for Sherlock because it's a mix of a-hole and nice guy.
Yeah, it's like, but I love how Sherlock describes it as that it could be blood curdling. The fact that he's asking him to be his friend, but I love Alfredo's reaction because Alfredo is like, oh, you can see just in his face that he's thinking, oh my God, this is awesome. I can totally mess with him, and he's asking me.
Yeah, and when you think about
mess with him back.
Just like a lot of moments, compare this Sherlock to season 1 Sherlock. He would never do this.
No.
He would never go out of his way to bring someone as his friend. And I just loved it. And then Alfredo was like, so, can I ask out Joan? He's like, oh, you're making a joke. Yeah, it's one of my things.
Oh, and that smirk. Oh, Alfredo's thinking, oh, this is my chance to mess with Sherlock. Where first that Sherlock tries to mess with me. It's gonna be like a competition of who can mess with who better.
Now, I know we only got 3 episodes left, but I'm really curious to see. I'm guessing it'll flesh out more next season, but I wonder where they're gonna go. I'm hoping this means we we see more of him.
I really, really hope so, and I hope nothing bad happens to him.
Oh, well, I don't think they would. The writers aren't
They better
cliche
not.
like that. Well, they kind of did that once with Sherlock's actor friend.
Yeah.
That was a weird choice.
Yep.
Although, but I hope they don't do some cliche like.
No,
I'm hoping he
please
becomes.
don't.
We'll see where they go with it.
We'll hate
Maybe
you forever, Elementary, if you heard.
maybe he'll get upgraded to series regular for the next season,
I hope so. That would be awesome.
and maybe they'll finally have the guts to. Oh, it'd be really funny if he dated Mrs. Hudson. Because he's there's a line like, she used to be a man. I don't care. That would be, they would know it. That would be awesome. But CBS in a million years would never have the guts.
No, that wouldn't happen.
Hey, as a weird side note to end it on, could you?
Could I what?
Could you date a man that was born a woman? Like, if he was physically completely a man, but it was born a woman, could you date them?
I could. I mean, it depends on the person always. Always depends on the person. Like,
ladies and gentlemen, this is me putting Kristen on the spot.
No, it always depends on the individual. But
I would, yeah, it wouldn't bother. I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
I think the actor playing Mrs. Hudson is the first. When someone told me that, I'm like, real. Like, I think she's hot as hell. But yes, again, great ending to the episode. So now, before I'm gonna switch things around. Before final thoughts, we're gonna have Kristen's clue cap now. Ooh.
So the crime this week was the murder of 2 paramedics and a sick woman that they were carrying in their ambulance. And the first clue was that there were 3 shots, but the killer only retrieved 2 casings. And there's a grating where Sherlock finds the third, and it had been hand-loaded and reused. But it leads to a previous murder and the killer. And so then the next clue is dirt found on the bottom of the killer's shoe leads to a salt marsh, and his phone leads there as well. But the body that they find there has been killed and gutted in the last couple of hours. So the man they thought was the killer didn't kill her. And then the next clue is that she's missing organs which were removed previously, and a baggie is found inside her, meaning that she was a drug mule. But the woman's roommate said that she went to Brazil for gastric bypass, and the food in her refrigerator confirms that. So she wasn't a willing participant. She didn't know she was a drug mule. Plus, her doctor is married to the sister of our killer, and then they go in this roundabout way of finding the other victims, which doesn't actually involve any clues, but they meet Dr. Ward in the process. And also there was the doctor in Brazil had stolen enough heroin from his hospital, enough for 2 other victims, 3 in all. And the next clue is, the next actual clue is that the previous 2 victims were sewed up with rocks and dumped in water instead of left in the open like the third victim. And Watson notices that their sutures are used in dentistry, which leads them right back to the dentist, Dr. Ward, that they had met previously. And he turns out to be an idiot criminal, which is lucky because they trick him into confessing to the whole thing. So that's it for the clue cap.
All right, since we're switching around thing, I'm doing my favorite quotes. Okay, the coffee quote. Start each day on the right foot.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Oh, the loud end of our tragic love affair.
Oh, I wrote that down too.
I almost wished I could have seen what he would have done. And of course, this might be favorite quote of the season. Leave a message and destroy this number.
Yes.
Which was awesome. It made me think of that line from the Grinch movie. If you hum so much as one syllable, I'll track you down and gut you like a fish. If you like to message me, press the star key.
There was also that obvious one. That's idiot for yes.
Oh yeah, that one was good too.
Yeah.
So what are your final thoughts on this episode?
Actually, well, one thing we actually forgot to talk about that part of the very loud end of a tragic love affair.
Well, we kind of touched upon when he finds out about Fredo that he might have stolen the cars and stuff.
Right? No, but I mean the way he stood up and the look on his face. He was
yeah, right.
about to let it go.
Right, you're right.
That was hilarious. So I really like this episode in a lot of ways. There's actually a lot of humor in this episode.
Yeah.
But somehow I don't feel like it's a very rewatchable. Even though I really liked it, and usually the more humorous ones are the ones that are totally rewatchable. Like I want to watch it like a couple of times or several times. But this one I felt like it just wasn't rewatchable for me.
Really, I felt it had rewatchable bits. I think the stupid. Well, the parts of Alfredo were good, but the stupid criminals. When you know it's them and you know how idiots they are, I think that helps the rewatch value, in my opinion.
See, for me, I thought it was hilarious the one time, but then after that, it's like, well, now we already know what an idiot he is, and it's not really that funny anymore. I don't really want to see it again.
I could, maybe after a few times it would start to wear thin, but I think overall it was a good episode. It was entertaining, it had a lot of good moments, and I think it was, I'd give it good ratings.
Yes, I do too. Just not on the rewatch.
So I think that's all for this. We'd like to remind our listeners, if you want to get in touch with us, check us out on Facebook, Baker Street Podcast, and of course, BakerStreetPodcast@gmail.com and Baker Street Pod on Twitter. And is there anything else you want to touch upon, Kristen?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's time for us to part, but the game is afoot.
Or a hand.